course, it's great to be back here. It's great to be back in your faces.
In this space, really ready for our day as a record. Apparently, now saying
social media is okay. I have so again the put all this. Do you know brand? I'm about to do that. But this people they just feel comment just see comment just see when you spot it just what they that means when say people knowing controls this one not what they are still what if you approach us address like putting it on social media represent
going to look at it very objectively. Act is professional, right? It's something to see the star artist. So it's a professional job. And then on the interview and you're going there resting up top without praising and they're saying them like, oh, you're good for show. That is what is that? If you're going for a job interview, maybe in a bank. Won't you kit up, put on your blazers and corporate outfit and then plastic?
Even
forget to know if you're going to meet your governor, even your local government chairman, guy.
The man dress properly.
You still dress properly, but just acting. You shouldn't look down on any profession. You know what you're going there to do. So unless, of course, they were going there to play a role where they're supposed to dress in appropriately.
Exactly.
Unless that's nobody asks you to dress in character. It doesn't exactly make sense. But I don't think there's any reason for anyone to start trolling and in any way, because even if she posted it online, they knew what they were doing. They were going to act. Basically, they didn't mind dressing that way on social media, so they shouldn't feel embarrassed.
So why is it a problem?
They obviously don't mind.
It's a problem. Worse things like that.
Worse things
than that. Things on that on social media. But people are like saying, oh, their image and the projection and everything about she posts it like that. Yada yada yada.
It's never a bad thing. For me, I'll say she didn't do bad. Now, I don't know why young people just fancy going half naked. And the truth is, no man will love you. Some men will. Okay. Some men will love you for that look. But the truth is, out of 100%, you just find 10% of men that will love you dressed in that look. Now, the 90% will always want to see a decent lady, a corporate lady. Now, I know there are some persons that love their girls, their ladies to dress on that hotty look. But then, it shouldn't be on a day of an interview. You don't dress that way. See, you know that they usually say you're dressed the way you want to be addressed. So you cannot go for a job interview dressed that way. Come on, ladies, let's get this fact that I should be properly dressed regardless of how I like to dress. Some persons like to go on this skimpy outfit and all, but then you should dress properly. Going for an interview, this should be a very sensitive thing. Everybody should buy into. Okay,
so we all know that first impression goes a long way. It lasts longer, because I don't know how you want to change that impression of yourself. Like you said, now you're going for a major interview and you're not properly dressed, or probably you have your shirt rumpled. Like your interviewer is like, this person will be a very unserious person. How would you come in a rumpled shirt? So that kind of scenario. But now you said Toyudo. Because I'm just trying not to say that word. You try to just wear something very revealing to that interview because you feel like it's an audition. No, please. In as much as you might want to dress like that somewhere else, but there are different outfits for different occasions. You can choose what you wear to the beach. Like to the beach is from what you wear to to a lounge. It's from what you wear to church. It's from what you wear to work. So don't make what you wear to the market. Don't turn it to what you wear to work. You can't wear your work outfit to maybe to the beach or something. We have different outfits for different occasions. So you should really respect this. Maybe you feel comfortable dressing like that on a normal day when you are going out, but you have different outfits for different occasions. So over to you, Faith.
All right, moving on, guys. Our own veteran Iniedo, we all know her. She's an actress, a Nigerian actress. Now she came out and she was sharing her heartfelt, I'll call that an heartfelt, experience during when she wanted to,
on this reality show.
On a reality show, how she had that experience of when she wanted to take in. Like during that process, she went through 6 miscarriages. And then on the long run, she, after thousands of different ways of tried, she now had to go for a surrogate. So I want to say that, no, when I had that experience, when I watched that video, you know, I felt so emotional, because, you know, when social media come out to throw tantrums at this set of people, they don't know what they go through. 6 miscarriages, that's a whole lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, we never can tell how she has been going through. And you know, when you go through a miscarriage, you have to go to the hospital. There's a lot. I remember when one of my cousins had that experience, and it took her months before she recovered. Now, this is 6. Like, she went through this. And then people will just come out and say things. Just, we talked about one recently where they were calling her Latif's a barren wife. Latif's wife. They call her a barren woman. You know, now, so social media, you don't know what people go through. These guys are going through a lot. So I feel like let's talk. Let's curtail what we say to these people, because they are humans. They have emotions. They feel what we say to them. When we unleash these words, at the end of the day, they have their what's it called? Their back time. They have time where they cry about these things we say to them. We never can tell, but we just lavish words to them. So, ladies, what do you think about this?
You said a lot. You said a lot. Oh, when I watched that particular video, because it's on this reality show, is it Young, Rich and African?
Yeah.
So the grace with which she spoke, I feel like she has gotten over it, although there'll always be that pain there and all. Yeah. I know Annie Idibia also shared the experience that she lost. She was pregnant of twins. She was carrying twins and she lost it. And these people will come on TV, you know, act, come produce
entertain
different things,
people.
entertain people. You know, social media is make believe. You do not know what's happening in their personal lives. It's whatever they feed you, you get to know. So I'll just say this: just try to extend grace to people, because, like Faith said, you do not know what people are going through. Like, that is a loss, and I must really, really commend that. And now people have been coming out recently to share their surrogacy journey. That okay, if one is finding it difficult to take in, like, okay, you can always try other methods, and, you know, than languishing in, you know, despair and everything. And I feel like this is a good thing to know, so that women will not always have to. And their husbands, so now always have to suffer the backlash of these things. I'm grateful for the enlightenment that people are now being knowledgeable about these things. That's my take on it.
Exactly, because one thing you notice about this social media of a thing, just like you said, everyone has an opinion. That's the thing about this social media. Everybody has something to say about everything. I mean, if you even look at it, they may not be able to take their own advice, but you see them dishing out advice to people. I mean, someone's even telling Funke Akindele recently that she should get another child in addition to her twins. Like, everyone has an impulse to make about everybody's family. And I feel if they don't ask for your advice, don't go and give advice. We don't, like, people don't really need you putting your mouth in their businesses. I mean, they're celebrities. Yes, they entertain you, they create content. It may be nice watching their whole family, how they do their things, watching how they live, and you feel, okay, you have a better idea of how they should do it, but then it doesn't mean you should start dragging people or causing them pain with the things you say. I mean, these Iniedo and Idibia had to heal before they came out with this. If they had not healed, they would not have told you this. So people are going through different pains, and they won't tell you because it's not really your business. So you don't have to really start digging into this.
What will you even do?
Exactly, you can't help. Your love emojis will not do anything.
Did you just say pity party?
Your love emojis will not do anything.
Do you get?
Because it doesn't make sense that you start dragging somebody over something you have no idea what the details are. So please, if you like what they do, celebrate them, cheer them on. But if you don't like it, you can either keep quiet about it. Don't cause anybody pain. Okay?
So I also like to add this, because generally as humans, we are very quick to judge. So you said something earlier that we should not have an opinion about something. But you know, we actually, 3 of us right now, we have opinion about these things. We are actually dishing our opinions on these things. So humans are very quick to judge, and I think this is one thing I've learned over the years. I just calm down before you go about dishing your opinion about things. Try to know what exactly happened. Try to know the backstory. Try to know everything that happened before you just go and make a mistake sharing your opinion. Like, I should have known and said anything though. That didn't happen. You would have just said that, no, this person is this person is that. Oh, why would you do that? And by the time you hear the whole story, when the whole story unfolds,
you begin to feel bad.
You hear the other person's side of it. So maybe two people are in a dispute, that you hear one person's side, you've not even heard the other person's side, where they started giving advice. As much as the one, I'll do this. But by the time you hear the person, I'm like, no, you should have done this difference. I feel like as humans, we should also always calm down sometimes to hear both parties, basically.
All right, guys, we will quickly go on a short break. When we are back, we'll dive into the rest of the gist. Don't go anywhere right after this break. Welcome back, guys. Victoria, what do you have for us?
Okay, so we are going straight to all this. Will I call it Instagram bans or Instagram? I don't know.
We're gonna change
all these blogs. So there's this woman. She came out to ask for help. She said, "People, help me, come to my aid." Apparently, she's Ijo and she's married to a Delta Igbo man. I just had to state this thing so that we would know. So according to her mother-in-law wants her to name her child Night Witch in quotes. So I think the surname is Oporoko, and according to her, Oporoko means witch. I don't know. I'm asking you people, the Ijo and Delta Igbos, if this is right, because I am Yoruba. So according to her, Oporoko means witch, and Keme means night. So if you're going to call the child, it will be Keme Oporoko, which means night witch. I beg, the Ijos and Delta Igbos kindly come to her aid. So she's complaining that Keme, and she's like, okay, what does she want to do? That she loves her husband. Her husband is a good man, but the surname is just the problem, that she even had issues with taking that surname. So you need to see the comment section. Like I had a good laugh. And I also learned a couple of things while going through the comment section. So, ladies, what do you think? Do you think she should go on to name her child according to the mother-in-law? Or she should just stand her ground and no? I gave birth to my child. Guys, I carried her for 9 months. No mother-in-law will tell me anything.
The last time I checked, that name Oporoko means stockfish. Apparently. And Oporoko in the general language in Igbo is stockfish. So I don't know, as you rightfully said,
different language,
with different meaning. But then mother-in-law really, I don't think she has a say, but there is a limit to what she can say to me. Like I got married to your son, so I and your son is already in this picture. So if you're telling me to give him this name, I'm going to pick that name, but then again, before I pick that name, I make sure I know the meaning of that name. See, people of God, though, know the kind of name you give to your children. Know the kind of name, like find out the meaning, go in details, like go search for the names, because the truth is, name defines people. Names defines your personality. There are some names there are some funny names. Some people bear, I don't know. I heard about Sarah. Sarah means serpent. So I'm not again, like I don't have much to say about this. But then, see, I just feel like people should get meaning about those names before you give your child that name. And then mother-in-law, all I'm just gonna say is there is a limit to what you can say in that marriage, in that family.
Okay. I'm just going to add this. You know, there's this thing called, they said knowledge is power. You need to know the meaning of things before you make certain decisions. Now, she's saying that this name means, Okporoko means witch in her own language. What does it mean in your husband's language? Let's start from there. Because I'm pretty sure before I got married to the lady, she shall went to her village and he said, my name is so and so, Okporoko. And the parents did not say, leave the family, he's a witch. The family didn't say anything like that. So apparently their parents had no issue marrying her into the family of Okporoko. So now that she's having issues with the name, I feel like it's long past that time, because you knew what his name meant before you married him, So now that you have the name as Okporoko, now my issue with the second name, which means night. Okay, what does it also mean in your husband people's side? Because, like you said, these names affects people. Names follow people, because I know someone that has the name Challenge. Like, why would you name a child Challenge? They literally had to change this child's name because although he was brilliant, but they're worried about his future. You get? So if you're worried that your child's name means night, okay, night can mean different things. You have to really dig deep. But then if you just look at it face value, the name means night witch, and you're not comfortable with it, feel free to fight. But then I'm pretty sure your husband has a first name. You don't have to take the husband's surname. You can take his first name. Even if people do that too, you just have a communication with your husband. Like, I don't want my child to be a Kuroko. Let her be your first name. Simple as that.
Okay, let's even go back to the beginning. Hey, you people, love is blind, love is blind. But there's some things that will open your eyes. I'm sorry. There's some things when you get to just meeting. What's your name? My name is this. My name is maybe Charles Oporoko. Maybe you will run. When you know that, okay. How will you be bearing
for the meaning?
Wait, once you know that you're not comfortable with what the interpretation of his name, why did you still go on to marry him? Didn't you know that you bear his name? Like, were you thinking that the name was going to disappear? Let's be factual. Love is blind, love is blind. Do you think the name was going to disappear? The name will not disappear. I am sorry. The name would not. This was like something you could have addressed. Like, okay, I'm sorry.
At that early
it's
stage.
A big issue for me. I cannot come and be bearing. And it's you are right. If you don't want to bear a particular name, if you don't want to take on the particular name, you have every right not to. Nobody is going to force you. And then I also have like the opinion that, okay, now the deed has been done. Your mother-in-law is involved. They're upset with you. Wisdom is profitable to direct. Okay, collect the name. But you're the one that will know the name you put in your child's birth certificate. You don't have to make noise about it.
Simple. Period.
True. So, people of God, let us be aware of what we want to dive into. Before you take any decision, do well to find out what you're really going into. Many thanks for joining us on the show. This is all we can take on today's show, guys. See you on our next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Even though it is considered that we have a so-called disability, we really are able persons with different abilities.
For society and development to be included of persons with disabilities, we need to have equal access to education and to knowledge and information. Yet, out of millions of publications each year, fewer than 5% are made available in accessible formats for visually impaired persons. In developing countries, an even smaller percentage of publications are available in accessible formats. The Marrakesh Treaty, as it is called, will greatly expand the availability of artistic and literary works in accessible forms, such as Braille, large print text, and audiobooks. This can make a real difference in the lives of the world's more than 300 million visually impaired persons.
At the end of the day, we must come together and make however and where we are in the world be a place of unification, because me being blind visually doesn't mean that I have to be blind spiritually. And someone being sighted doesn't mean that they should be blind of those things in the world that we need to fix. We have to have inclusion.
Let us not become handicapped again, blind to the issues and the problems of those in need.
On the news, National Assembly passes 54.99 trillion naira 2025 budget. Custom intercepts cache of smuggled arms and ammunition in Lagos. And CBN to sanction banks imposing ATM withdrawal limit below 20,000 naira. Many thanks for joining us on the news on TV360 Nigeria. I'm Tamilore Akinkwolye. The National Assembly has passed the 54.99 trillion naira 2025 appropriation bill following separate approvals by the Senate and the House of Representatives on Thursday. A breakdown of the budget reveals 3.645 trillion naira allocated for statutory transfers, 14.317 trillion naira for debt servicing, 13.6 trillion naira for recurrent and special, 3.9 trillion naira for fiscal deficit, 1.7 trillion naira to 4 trillion naira level.
Is for certain as fast. When the contribution to one feature on the part.
As the court has faced this dependent rehabilitation program,
it will this is my delay for
reach and 20.
this is lost
Now, press on. What's that? For the first elections,
and observes fully international the constitution of give section that meeting to must pay for it must pay for it would it not a point would it not a point for and
side of discovery price parry should it cost of parry should it cost of more fund of L and skin of L and skin by all national assessment
the temporary instance first of government procurement and treatment of the exempt of
over them all. If next do not hear any from the concerns
Nigerian currency production, which commodities include kits and antiviral drugs, and national control is ordered to be published by the This move is as old or sin continually.
As to believe farmers industries on the same now with them you get.
The service if disrupted in China's for Niger, or the Korean and the initiative of education for the support of the
on our education. Combined students have was advised that in February 2020, we've had the projection from government. We told you that costs ahead of government more at the cost. Virtually any light seizure inflation will kill in foreign number any of you state against on the and work to the return account. It's not items on you, church 6 and Google Facebook webline. I'm from business and
brothers and question Hayama. This clicky will play free fees. The CBI that also games concern just to comparison. We can be back with 8 from the services caused the Nigerian equities market to increase further by 1.25% at the close of June on Thursday. The Nigerian exchange had all market capital increased for citizens and on 204 naira SP, 128 years after its move for 174 naira top. The follow like Sono assurances, which increased from preceding days of 5.7 to 6.20, adding 50 in the post. Now at the close of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange of 4.7 the market reaching 9 billion naira. Now parallel the trading days went the momentum. On the other hand, the UK FTSE saw a slight dip, falling by 0.516% on the stock market. Now in the foreign exchange markets, the naira showed a slight upward movement on the black $105p on 5 naira that shifted the market as the old stay against major. And that's the sport to you, Tamilo, for the rest of the news.
Thank you for that update, Okwayami. On the global, in the World Organization, third firms and careers, WHO Dr. General Tedros Ghebreyesus wonder Wednesday U.S. positive be as a global particularly on fighting China else. The virtual Java touched you of the reconciliation on the only and the transference of U.S. institutions affecting global health efforts, including the eradication of polio and response to import. 20 people were driven and Afghan asylums applied into a crowd stay before federal. But came was been leaders in U.S. president and you can cross vote Zelensky to drive seat but near Curious. And fellow sport Enzo Maraca confirmed on Thursday that Philip Jorgensen has replaced Robert Sanchez, Shell #1 keeper, as government the break. 27-year-old Spain international Sanchez has made a string of errors in the last month. One at Manchester City. Rescue, whose team faces Burn again on Friday, confirmed at his pre-match press conference that Jorgensen, who is 22, is current voice. And that wraps up our bulletin on news now. Many thanks for watching. See you again next time.
Degrees of is agricultural expertise something world-changing potential, high-yield hybrid rice. At the season is now beginning. To date, this high-yielding rice from China has a root of China fresh resembles these crops. Everywhere you look, as numberless grains of rice there are playing the time. Zanzibar, off the east coast of Africa, world-famous coastline, it's a renowned vacation destination. And Nas Mojapin's Chinese Jiangqing is seeing the preparations for a minimally invasive surgery. Dr. Jiang Guoqing has performed hundreds of surgeries just like this here. But today's procedure is different. It marks the first time his student, Dr. Baya Abdullah Rashid, will be in charge of a minimally invasive surgery. Baya Abdullah Rashid, 53, has been working at the hospital for nearly 30 years. He has trained with 18 Chinese medical teams and recently completed 10 months of intensive training in minimally invasive surgery. Under the guidance of his Chinese mentor, he performed his first minimally invasive cholecystectomy in 90 minutes. Baya Abdullah Rashid is also the second doctor in Zanzibar, Tanzania, to perform this surgery independently after training with Zhang Guoqing, the leader of the Chinese medical team.
So by this method of surgery, the patient will get better soon. So maybe by tomorrow the patient will go back home, and after 2 weeks the patient will go back to their normal routine work. The medical team, it has been here since I was born. We are so happy to have this team here. It helps us, it teaches us, it trains us to be good doctors to help our people here.
About 6,000 kilometers away, on the west coast of Africa, Guinea is home to a modern hospital that represents the hope of generations of Chinese and Guinean people. This is the China-Guinea Friendship Hospital. A Chinese engineer has suffered a sudden stroke. Treatment is needed with utmost urgency. Fortunately, Dr. Ibrahima Sori Soareze is on hand to perform a cerebral digital subtraction angiography on the patient right away. Dr. Ibrahima Sori Soareze received 4 years of neurosurgery training at Huashan Hospital in China. This is the first time he's done an angiography since returning to his home country. A successful surgical procedure. Ibrahima Sori Soareze is overjoyed, and there's one person in particular he wants to share the good news with, his mentor in China. Good morning, Professor. I'm so glad today. This week I performed the first angiogram to diagnose a Chinese patient in my country. Now the patient is fine and awake. And that's not the only life saved by Chinese-Guinean medical collaboration. Generations of Chinese and African people have dedicated themselves to saving lives in Africa, fostering a bond that has endured for over half a century. For over 60 years, from deserts to grasslands, jungles to islands, from the sunrise over the Indian Ocean to the sea breeze of the Atlantic, more than 20,000 Chinese medical workers have journeyed to Africa. They've worked side by side with local medical professionals, saving lives, combating infectious diseases, and creating countless heartwarming stories of compassion going beyond the call of duty. China and Africa have jointly created 30 malaria control and preventions and have trained 60,000 local medical professionals. The newly completed Africa CDC headquarters in the southern suburbs of Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, has become a landmark area.
Nice to meet you. I appropriate
Director of Africa Nests.
And we believe that this building is a key. We have the Public Health Emergency Operations Center, one of the largest ones in the world. We are also providing training of our members.
As on health code to blonitil, significant use on endemic box countries. Africa CDC serves a vast funding doctors and patients. Africa, local, complete operations. Africa, continent tackle these is already yielding result thanks to close collaboration with its partners.
Because we are into production. It is important to us so that we avoid cross-contamination, the type of product that we put out.
As quality control manager, Lydia's job is to ensure that the products from the first automated diagnostic reagent manufacturing plant in sub-Saharan Africa measures required standards.
When it comes to the production of IVDs, the RDTs, the requirements are quite stringent. I had to work with one for our China partners in implementing through technology transfer.
Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, spans 240,000 square kilometers and supports a population of over 40 million. However, the Ugandan health sector faces an annual demand for reagents of $200 million, the shortfall $83 million, even with various forms of support.
Uganda is going through an epidemic transition. Previously, we had very high burden of infectious diseases, which were almost contributing to over 60% of the burden, which are really contributing the big burden of ill health in the country.
To tackle this challenge, the Ugandan government launched the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda initiative, aimed at promoting domestic manufacturing and boosting consumption. It was within this context that Microhim Scientifics was established. While Lydia ensures high-quality production at MHS, Dr. Isaac Sawanyena, Director of Lab Science at Uganda National Health Laboratory Services, is set to validate the effectiveness of the diagnostic reagents produced by the factory. This is a crucial step towards the nationwide deployment of rapid antigen detection tests in Uganda.
So I'm going to pick a sample, put here. And the tests that we are already getting out of them are of good quality. And we know that this plant in Uganda will go a long way to support the countries that are surrounded. It's a big relief that we are moving towards diagnostic independence, but when we're having local production, local manufacturing, it means that we are saving and we are providing diagnostics at a cheaper cost. One is Microhim Scientific that has been manufactured in Uganda with the technology transfer from Wonfo in China.
This efficient collaboration not only saves Uganda over $100 million annually in import costs for diagnostic test kits, but also provides high-quality, affordable diagnostic reagents to the entire African continent. From collaborating on the development of Africa's healthcare sector to strengthening ties in the health industry, patients, doctors, businesses and governments are all key participants and beneficiaries in building a China-Africa health community. In the pursuit of a healthier Africa, the people of China and Africa have shown tremendous goodwill, forging deep and lasting connections. Liu Qing has lived by the Yellow River his entire life. Although his children have always wanted to bring him to the city, he still frequently returns here for a stroll.
我这光这儿待了30多年了。原来这是地啊，这个全是地，2公里嘛，3、4亩地就掏进去了。
Watching the place where he once lived gradually become desolate, Liu Qing faced a difficult choice: to leave or to stay. What he finds hardest to let go of are the fond memories tied to this land. Over in Rwanda, young Mushimiyimana Leonidas once faced a similar dilemma.
My mother is in agriculture, so he don't have enough means for helping us. At that time, I struggled for paying the school fees at the university, at the same time looking how I can help my brothers and sisters.
Due to the low level of local agricultural development, farming could only meet the family's basic needs. Despite these tough conditions, Leonidas managed to complete his university studies, but he couldn't find a suitable job, making his dream of improving his family's standard of living even more distant. Fortunately, the challenges faced by both the Chinese elder and the African youth were addressed by the same solution: Juncao, a hybrid grass developed by Chinese agricultural expert Professor Lin Jianxi. In 2011, Professor Lin Jianxi led a Juncao technology team to Rwanda to work on projects designed to combat soil erosion and preserve arable land. The team also introduced local farmers to the technique of cultivating mushrooms using juncao. This method, which had previously helped many Chinese farmers escape poverty, offered new hope to Leonidas.
I go back for looking at them, so I start to learn more about the technology. I start a business for producing mushroom using ginkgo.
After 10 years of hard work, juncao has completely transformed Leonidas's life.
We have a house to live. We have transport means. We have my kids, my 4 daughters. 2 of them, they are in secondary school now. So they from the starting, they studied in the high school.
Many farmers like Leonidas have now escaped poverty and started new fulfilling lives, all thanks to juncao. Today, Chinese juncao technology has been introduced to several African countries. The Chinese expert group has established juncao technology demonstration and training bases in 8 African countries, including the Central African Republic.
J'aime la technologie juncao, vive l'amitié entre la Chine et la République centrafricaine.
Juncao can be used as a substitute for wood to grow mushrooms. It has become a happiness herb for African farmers, helping them prosper. Professor Lin Jianshi's team also achieved success with their erosion prevention project in Rwanda. Thanks to the findings they made there, they can apply the lessons learnt at home in China. Could juncao help combat erosion along the banks of the Yellow River?
这个草聚集草种了100到120天啊，就能够把那个流动沙漠、流动沙丘啊，完全就固定下来。而且我们那个保护岸线，保护那个黄河这个岸线，也起了非常好的作用。
The team at the Yellow River Juncao demonstration base met Li Yuqing, who was concerned about the safety of his home. They decided to give priority to sand stabilization along the riverbank near his house.
长这么高，1米多、1米2以后，你就割掉，那时候影响最高嘛，1米2到1米5，割完以后它又长，可以割3到4茬。是啊。啊，那个它是越割它。
This solution not only alleviates Li Yuqing's worries, but also ensures he no longer has to stress about winter feed for his sheep, thanks to the juncao, which is now starting to tiller. The happiness herb spreads its fragrance far and wide. The once uncertain African youth is now envisioning a much brighter future. In Rwanda, Kabuye Hill School is celebrating graduation season, and Leonidas is busy preparing for the ceremony. In addition to being the manager of a mushroom company, Leonidas has taken on another role, the principal of Kabuye Hill School. He hopes that his efforts will help pave a path of hope for Rwanda's future.
I would like to contribute to the community where I live to change the life by increasing education.
Small-scale yet impactful livelihood projects are a crucial aspect of China-Africa cooperation. These not just about helping the land sustain its people, but also about making the dream of a better life a reality. Day by day, these initiatives are becoming an integral part of daily life and touching people's hearts. With the seeds of friendship planted, they're bound to yield a bumper harvest of happiness in the future. Nkabinda Nokwazi Priti, a South African student studying in Nanjing, loves the cultural atmosphere of the Confucius Temple. She's also captivated by the tech you see everywhere in China. For her, China's a constant source of new and exciting possibilities.
How do you buy? You can buy on this machine.
I want this one.
You want the ice cream? It's 15.
Yes, it's fine.
For Nkabinda, who is studying mechanical and electronic engineering, the robot that makes and sells ice cream is fascinating.
It's open, right? Open.
The machine is very
interesting.
Yeah.
Remember I told you we are learning the robot? So I would do it.
Nkabinda hails from the Republic of South Africa, located at the southern tip of the African continent. Known for its spirit of inclusion and acceptance, South Africa is a nation that people admire. As the second largest economy in Africa, South Africa's National Development Plan 2030 emphasizes youth skills, education and training, aiming to build a stronger economy by nurturing more talent. In 2018, the South African and Chinese governments launched a training project. South Africa's Department of Higher Education and Training commissioned 6 Chinese universities to train 100 teachers in subjects like computer science and artificial intelligence for South African middle schools. As one of the government-sponsored students from South Africa, Nkabinda will spend 18 months studying in China.
When I got this opportunity, I was very excited because China is best known as popular in technology. So.
After completing their studies, Nkabinda and her classmates will return to South Africa. Equipped with knowledge, skills, and a vision of the future, they will mentor other aspiring young people, inspiring them to build a prosperous new South Africa. Franklin Mutisia, a teacher at the Luban workshop of Machakos University in Kenya, will lead the students in an important test today.
Object and activity description. Upon swiping from
Recently, he has been guiding students in developing an application aimed at help blind people become more mobile.
several posters on the wall behind him.
We do collaborate a lot, and our students were motivated to want to assist the students who study at the School for the Blind, and they came up with the application.
To help African countries train the specialized talent needed for industrialization, several Chinese vocational schools have established training programs in Africa. Franklin Mutisia is part of the first group of teachers trained at the Luban workshop at Machakos University.
The university adopted the engineering practice innovation project initiative through the Luban workshop. And we have seen a positive impact in how our lecturers deliver content, especially engineering students are now able to tailor their projects or rather research to the current industry standards.
Under initiatives such as the Belt and Road Initiative and the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, China-Africa Vocational Education Cooperation has flourished. More than 10 Luban workshops have been established, helping tens of thousands of African youths find career direction. China has set up multiple scholarship programs to support outstanding African students studying in China and has trained over 10,000 African teachers. Additionally, vocational technical schools and training centers have been jointly established. Countless African youths have found their life direction and realized their aspirations, continuing the enduring friendship between China and Africa. Every morning, Max Yolando from Côte d'Ivoire leads a group of local young students as they run through the streets of Zambia. He also has a Chinese name, Yan Ming.
小的时候，我们看那个电影，学习功夫也是一个梦想。我就跟我妈妈说了，我说我长大的时候，我必须要到中国学习功夫。我在少林寺大概有5、6年，就专门的去学功夫，还有了解中国的文化。
This year, Max is taking his students to China for a global Kung Fu event. He hopes they will not only showcase the Kung Fu they have mastered, but also gain an appreciation of the cultural significance behind it.
我说功夫不是打架的。第一个，你要努力，不管你遇到困难，别放弃。第二个，你要做的不是为了你自己，为了你的下一代，为了你的国家。
On July 12, 2024, hundreds of competitors from 47 countries and regions around the world gathered at Songshan Mountain in Henan. For Max and his students, it's a momentous day. At long last, they've come to the birthplace of Kung Fu.
不管你是赞比亚，不管你是马里，不管你是布基纳法索，不管你是科特迪瓦，我们都在一起到中国。也是属于说一家一样的。
Because it's amazing, and if you look at the competition, there's so many people from all over the world. Kung Fu unites the world. I think it's great.
It's very important. Yeah, I'm glad that they opened the gates for everybody.
This is more than just a competition. It's also a gathering, a forum for people from around the world experience the inclusive Chinese culture through Kung Fu. It's a connection that resonates deeply, transcending language, race, and nationality. Beijing's Hohai Lake has been a center for cultural exchange since the Yuan dynasty. Today it remains a vibrant platform for sharing the very latest and hottest trends.
Hello.
Every Wednesday and Saturday, a djembe band performs beside Hohai Lake.
那么今天我们就来先学习曼丁非洲鼓的3个基本音：东、都、达、低、中、高。2012年第一次接触非洲鼓，从09年开始形成就是一个鼓剧的形式，现在15年了。我每次打鼓全年50多个星期，每周2次，几乎是不间断的。马里巴亚萨，哎，马里巴亚萨。
The djembe band has become a feature of life around Hohai Lake. Passers-by are truly captivated by the way the drummers freely express themselves through their rhythmic beats.
"我觉得收获最大的就是快乐，就是内心的快乐，
特别在 拍打这个鼓点的时候，能够特别激发人的内在的一种动力。
用自己的手掌和鼓接触，你就会感觉非洲鼓的那个声响和自己的身体是融在一起的。我觉得这个就太 amazing 了。
This is the essence of cultural exchange. It stems from pure appreciation, a love for all things beautiful. Friendship, which derives from close contact between the people, holds the key to sound state-to-state relations. The bond between the people of China and Africa is one based on a genuine sense of admiration. Over the years, this has evolved into a shared aspiration for a better life. It's this shared hope for health, happiness and fulfillment that has enabled the China-Africa friendship to take root in the hearts of both peoples. What's more, it's a relationship that's growing stronger and enriching more lives with every day that passes.
On the news, National Assembly passes 54.99 trillion naira 2025 budget. Custom intercepts cache of smuggled arms and ammunition in Lagos. And CBN to sanction banks imposing ATM withdrawal limits below 20,000 naira. Many thanks for joining us on the news on TV360 Nigeria. I'm Tamilore Akinkwolye. The National Assembly has passed the 54.99 trillion naira 2025 appropriation bill following separate approvals by the Senate and the House of Representatives on Thursday. A breakdown of the budget reveals 3.645 trillion naira allocated for statutory transfers, 14.317 trillion naira for debt servicing, 13.64 trillion naira for recurrent expenditure, and 23.963 trillion naira for capital expenditure under the Development Fund. The fiscal deficit was pegged at 13.08 trillion naira with a deficit to GDP ratio of 1.52%. Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had earlier increased the budget proposal from 49.7 trillion naira to 54.2 trillion naira, seeking legislative approval.
A bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation, the total sum of 54 trillion 990 billion 165 million 355,366 naira only, of which 3 trillion 645 billion 761 million 358,925 naira only is for statutory transfers. The sum of 23 trillion 963 billion 251 million 624,250 naira only is for contribution to Development Fund for capital expenditure for the year ending on the 31st day of December. This bill is read a third time and passed. And I hope that this appropriation bill will contribute to moving Nigeria forward and will assist Mr. President in his renewed hope agenda to renew the hope of Nigerians in all facets of life, from infrastructure to security and to provision of even respect for this country from the international community, most especially to leave a better nation for the future generations of this country.
The Defense Headquarters has launched Operation Safe Corridor in the Northwest, but its headquarters in Task Force and for the state. The initiative is designed to combat insecurity by providing a structured pathway for repentant terrorists and bandits who voluntarily surrender their arms to be rehabilitated and reintegrated into society. The program, previously successful in rehabilitating Boko Haram defectors in the Northeast, has now been expanded to address security challenges in Zamfara, Kebbi, Katsina, Sokoto, and Kaduna states. The program is built on 5 pillars: disarmament, demobilization, de-radicalization, rehabilitation, and reintegration. Operation Safe Corridor is expected to play a key role in restoring peace and stability across the Northwest. Now, joining me to discuss this better is retired Commandant of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, Nnamdi Okonkwo. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Okonkwo. Now, what is your take on the establishment of Operation Safe Corridor to help rehabilitate ex-bandits?
To be honest with you, this establishment of this Operation Safe Haven, I think is a beautiful idea because it will assist in curbing what you call banditry and maybe terrorism. These people will have the opportunity to be rehabilitated and maybe schooled as to be able to reunite with the society. So this is my take, even though I know that establishing this has a lot of pros and cons. But this news item here will not allow for the provision of all the materials required in terms of the pros and then in terms of the cons for the benefit of the society and for the betterment of the security of the country.
Now, despite the program's implementation in the Northeast, the region still faces significant terrorism challenges. Now, what measures can be taken to ensure that the Northwest does not also experience similar setbacks?
It is my advice that the government should immediately deploy its counter-terrorism policies and work with it, and so that they will be able to meet up with the needs of the people in terms of the provision of safety and freedom from all anxieties of danger. If the government adopts that, putting the community affairs in place, the environment, the safety, and the security of the people, this will be the most tidy idea that the government can follow so that it does not spread anymore.
Now, finally, before I let you go, many communities have expressed skepticism about reintegrating former insurgents. Now, what steps can be taken to foster trust and to also ensure the safety of these communities?
You see, the thing is, it depends on how the management of that safe haven, if they are able to draw up a management plan, they would be able to, just in case the people who are coming, because one does not know the intent of their minds. You see, most times the intent of the mind is much the same as the state of a digestion. The actus real is only what we can determine, but their minds cannot be so determined. So what they will do is take all the necessary precautions to make sure that these people are well trained in terms of new skills, how to be able to acquire skills and then deploy the skills they've acquired in the proper perspective. This is my take, and this is how I think the government can do it, and they have to do it with all seriousness, with the speed it requires, and the surprise it requires, and the secrecy it requires. So all of these must be put in place in order to be able to put that together so that the government will thrive in what they are trying to do or achieve for a better society in Nigeria.
Right, former Commandant of Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Nnamdi Okonkwo, thank you very much for your time. Still on security matters, the Defense Headquarters has reported significant operational successes in the South-South region between January 3rd and February 13th, 2025. Troops fought oil theft worth an estimate of 646 million naira during this period, marking a major win against economic sabotage. Speaking at a bi-weekly media briefing, Director of Defense Media Operation Major General Marcos Kangige revealed that 75 terrorists were also neutralized, 138 suspects were arrested, and 46 kidnapped hostages were successfully rescued. Major General Kangeye attributed this achievement to the coordinated effort of the Armed Forces Land Component, the Office of the National Security Advisor Team, security agencies, and hybrid forces.
Troops discovered and destroyed about 164 crude oil cooking ovens, 37 dugout pits, 19 boats, 16 storage tanks, 38 drums, and 42 illegal refining sites. Other items recovered include 3 pumping machines, 4 tricycles, 7 motorcycles, 5 mobile phones, and 3 vehicles, among others. In a related development, troops recovered 104 and 2,639 assorted weapons and ammunition, respectively. These include 55 AK-47 rifles, 20 locally fabricated guns, 8 den guns, 18 pump action guns, 1,836 rounds of 7.62 millimeter special ammunition, 376 rounds of 7.62 millimeter NATO, 363 rounds of 7.62 by 12.7 millimeter ammunition, 26 cartridges, as well as 14 and 15 assorted arms and ammunition, respectively.
The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has raised the alarm over the financial struggles faced by retired police officers under the contributory pension scheme, describing the situation as unacceptable. Speaking at an interactive session on pension matters in Abuja, Egbetokun called for an urgent reassessment of the scheme, which has left many former officers in distress despite their years of dedicated service. He emphasized the need for constructive dialogue among stakeholders to ensure a dignified and financially stable future for police personnel, by acknowledging that the CSP's sustainable model. Egbetokun stressed that the harsh realities faced by many retirees cannot be ignored.
Over the years, we have witnessed genuine complaints by serving and retired officers regarding the contributory pension scheme. The concerns raised have been persistent and deeply worrisome. It is generally observed that the contributory pension scheme leaves majority of police retirees in difficult financial conditions after years of dedicated service to the nation. This situation is unacceptable to us, and as a responsible institution, we must seek pathways to reorder the unpalatable experiences of our retired officers, while giving hope of a secured financial future to our serving personnel. They point out that pension funds are now managed professionally, reducing the risk of management and ensuring continued payment of benefits. Let me note here that while these arguments are valid, they do not erase the hardships faced by many police retirees. This meeting therefore provides a platform for all stakeholders to engage constructively and arrive at a well-informed position on this matter.
Where a defined period payments are made in retirement, the sponsor of the scheme, e.g. the employer. The employer is the one to remove this money meant for the employee. Must make further payment into the fund if necessary to support this defined treatment payment. Or secondly, which is just introduced within the global space, not only Nigeria, a defined contribution plan or contributory scheme under which defined amounts are paid in during work life, and the retirement payments are whatever can be afforded from that.
We apologize for the break in transmission. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Customs Service (NCS) has officially ended 1,599 arms and 2,298 rounds of ammunition intercepted between 2018 and 2024 to the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons. The handover ceremony took place at the Federal Operation Unit Zone A, Ikeja, Lagos on Thursday, with the Comptroller General of Customs Bashir Adewale Adeniyi addressing journalists about the significance of the seizures in enhancing national security. Speaking at the event, the CGC Adeniyi detailed how the weapons were intercepted, citing notable examples such as 2018 discovery of 440 pump-action rifles, concealed 516 bags of plasters of Pari POP in a container, emphasized that these interceptions highlight the active collaboration between customs and stakeholders to combat arms smuggling and safeguard public safety. Meanwhile, in health experts in Nigeria have lauded the Nigerian government's approval of 4.8 billion naira to fund for HIV/AIDS treatment in the country, as well as $1.07 billion in financing for healthcare sector reforms under the Human Capital Opportunities for Prosperity and Equity program. Minister of Health Ali Pate announced that the funding underscores the Nigerian government's commitment to providing life-saving treatment and reducing healthcare costs for vulnerable populations. Following the announcement, experts called for increased funding by both private sector and government at all levels in order to ensure an effective and sustainable national response. TV360's correspondent Simisola Adigun has more in this next story.
The financial sustainability of the HIV and AIDS response in Nigeria faces a variety of challenges, including heavy reliance on donor funding that is declining, a low level of domestic funding, and a low level of private sector financing. Just recently, Donald Trump approved a temporary waiver for life-saving humanitarian assistance under the U.S. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, PEPFAR, a key program for HIV/AIDS treatment in Nigeria and other developing countries, which covers medicine, medical services, food and shelter, reversing an initial 90-day pause on the foreign aid. This necessitated the approval of 4.5 billion naira by the Nigerian government for the procurement of HIV and AIDS treatment packs to support Nigerians living with the disease.
Even though we have partners that are supporting the treatment, but federal government is already putting its resources to contribute, and we see that that is a signal that the support that the government is providing to those who are vulnerable to reduce the cost and to ensure that life-saving treatment is available.
The Federal Executive Council also established a committee tasked with developing a long-term strategy for funding HIV and AIDS programs domestically. Experts in Nigeria highlight the need for such government-led sustainability efforts to reduce the country's continued reliance on donor support.
I think it's a positive move in the right direction, because now the move is for us to become for us sustainability. We are talking about a new business model in HIV management in Nigeria, so that state actors, government has a larger role to play in managing this condition, so that we don't have two tracks, one for HIV and then one for other diseases and all. So we're talking about integrating and getting states to have more responsibility.
What has been done, what has been announced is more like a stopgap measure just to ensure that, we don't have chaos on our hands over the next 4 months. But if over the next 4 months we do not hear, any significant commitments, from the government, like probably increase in commitments, then we would have a big problem, on our hands. So we want to see significant increments from the government in terms of supporting the treatment program.
The Nigerian government has also announced plans to commence domestic production of HIV and AIDS commodities, including test kits and antiretroviral drugs, before the end of 2025. According to the Director General of the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, Temitope Ilori, the initiative is part of the government's broader efforts to eliminate AIDS as a public health threat by 2030. This move is described as a bold course in addressing funding challenges and protecting Nigerians living with HIV and AIDS.
If we have, the enabling environment, there is power, all of the things that the industry requires to be able to deliver is available, then definitely I believe our pharmaceutical industries can compete, on the same pedestal with their contemporaries in other countries. And we also have a huge market here.
It's important for us to have a wider scope that funding needs to, for us to eliminate, that's the goal of funding. We don't want HIV, we want by 2030, we want HIV to be, not to be a pressing concern. We don't want it to have the epidemic condition. We want it to have it largely under control. And for that to happen, the 95 target needs to be brought to place, that 95% of people that have the disease know that they have the disease.
Delivering HIV and AIDS services can become more efficient if management practices are taken into account. These experts press for private sector engagement in the national HIV response in Nigeria. They also emphasize the importance of creating and expanding community initiatives for HIV and AIDS education and prevention, and for the care and support of people living with HIV and AIDS in the country. Simisola Adigun, TV360 News.
It's time for a short break, but still to come on news now. WHO says suspension of USAID would disrupt global health programs in 50 countries. We'll give you details of the story shortly after this break. Welcome back. Now a quick recap of our top stories. The Nigerian Senate has approved a 54.99 trillion naira budget for the 2025 fiscal year, marking an upward revision from the initial 49.7 trillion naira proposed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2024. The revised budget, presented on February 5, 2025, reflects additional revenues projection from government agencies. We also told you that the Nigeria Customs Service has handed over 1,599 arms and 2,298 rounds of ammunition intercepted between 2018 and 2024 to the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons during a ceremony at the Federal Operation Unit in Lagos. Comptroller General Bashir Adewale Adeniyi highlighted significant seizures, including 440 pump-action rifles concealed in POPs in 2018, underscoring the collaborative effort between customs and stakeholders to combat arms smuggling and enhance national security. Now, in case you missed any of the news bulletin or for more updates, you can catch us on Limas World TV and AVO TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery, and Apple Store. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. It's time for business news, and Okpayemi Owosheni is on standby. Okpayemi, what's the latest?
Well, Tamilore, the Central Bank of Nigeria has warned that it will sanction banks that force customers to withdraw less than 20,000 naira per transaction from automated teller machines, despite having sufficient funds and requesting a higher amount. This was disclosed in a Q&A explainer released by the Apex Bank following its recent review of ATM withdrawal fees. The CBN emphasized that ATM charges for withdrawals made from other banks' ATMs, both on-site and off-site, are based on the expectation that customers can withdraw up to 20,000 naira per transaction. The Apex Bank encouraged affected customers to file complaints against banks that impose unnecessary restrictions. We'll take a break now and be back with updates from the stock market. Welcome back. Remarkable rallies seen in stocks like Dangote Cement PLC and other major advances like PZ and Suno Assurances caused the Nigerian equities market to increase further by 1.25% at the close of trading on Thursday. The Nigerian Exchange Limited all-share index and equities market capitalization increased further on Thursday from preceding day trading lows of 107,822.53 points and 67,274 trillion respectively to 109,172.03 basis points and 68 trillion naira. Dangote Cement PLC led the advances after his share price moved from a low of 431 naira to 474 naira 10 kobo, adding 43 naira 10 kobo. It was followed by Suno Assurances, which increased from. Today shows the data on the Nigerian Stock Exchange reveals a slight decline in activity. Trading volume dropped by 8%, turnover fell by 10%, but there was a positive shift with a 5% increase in the number of deals. Meanwhile, in global markets, the US Dow Jones bounced back from yesterday's losses, while Japan's Nikkei continued its positive momentum. On the other hand, the UK FTSE saw a slight dip, falling by 0.516% on the stock market. Now, in the foreign exchange markets, the Naira showed a slight upward movement on the black market, trading at 1,570 Naira to the US dollar, 1,985 Naira to the GBP, and 1,655 Naira 15 Naira to the euro. A modest shift in the market as the Naira holds steady against major currencies. And that's it on today's business and stock market report. Back to you, Tamilore, for the rest of the news.
Thank you for that update, Okpayemi. On the global scene, the World Health Organization, WHO, has reported that the recent suspension of U.S. foreign aid has disrupted critical health programs in 50 countries. WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus warned on Wednesday that the U.S. pause in foreign aid contribution is having a serious impact on global health, particularly on programs fighting polio, HIV, and other health threats. Speaking at the virtual press conference from Geneva, Tedros urged the U.S. government to reconsider its decision and resume aid funding until alternative solutions can be found. According to him, Trump's funding suspension and disengagement of U.S. institutions affecting global health efforts, including the eradication of polio and the response to mpox. And 28 people were hurt when a car driven by an Afghan asylum seeker plowed into a crowd in Munich on Thursday in what the state premier said was probably an attack, putting security back in focus before next week's federal election. The suspected attack also came hours before international leaders, including U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, were due to arrive in the southern German city for the Munich Security Conference. And finally, on sport, Enzo Maresca confirmed on Thursday that Philippe Jorgensen has replaced Robert Sanchez as Chelsea's #1 goalkeeper as he seeks to recover momentum in the Premier League. 27-year-old Spain international Sanchez has made a string of costly errors this season, including the last month 3-1 defeat at Manchester City. Maresca, whose team faces Brighton again on Friday, confirmed at his pre-match press conference that Jorgensen, who is 22, is currently his first choice. And that wraps up our bulletin on news now. Many thanks for watching. See you again next time.
am Seidoa Linus Yemia. I'm a professional artist. I'm a curator as well. So, but I'm more of the artist now. I studied painting in school, and I paint, and my works actually talk about the contemporary Lagos life, especially as it relates to transportation and the downfall you find around Lagos. I'm trying to tell the downfall story in a new way, in a better way from what I think people have been saying, and I'm trying to create a new sense of understanding or appreciation for this popular culture we all live with in Lagos. So that's why I paint today, and that is what my works basically talk about: Lagos and Lagos downfall. Like so many artists before me would say, like when I was a child, I loved drawing. I used to draw everywhere, and yes, I'm one of them. I did that. I drew a lot on the floor, on the walls. I did a lot of paintings, and I was very fortunate to have a very wonderful father who was always providing art materials for me. So I had the opportunity to explore as much as I could as a child, and I created a lot. Then just having fun. Basically, children who studied art or didn't, they are all doing the same thing. It's just part of a stage of growth for a lot of us who have that part of creativity very high in us. So that was how maybe it started. I grew for so many years. I lost my dad quite early, so I didn't have all the full encouragement, but I still loved this thing. When I got to SS2 or SS3, yeah, it wasn't clear what I wanted to do. Like, I wasn't sure at all. Was it going to be art? Was it going to be this? I also love history. Like, I love history a lot. And I was thinking I was going to be an historian. I was saying it that day, I would be an historian. But later, I loved art again. So it was revolving around the two, and eventually I felt like, man, this is me, this is what I like doing, this thing gives me joy, let me do it. So I wasn't fortunate to be in a school that was teaching art at that time, so I have to go to a different school to meet the art teacher. So I was going to his place every evening to learn from him. Like, I took classes, and I wrote it in my WAEC, I wrote it in JAM, and I gained admission into art school. But something happened within the period of my SS classes, or the decision-making time. One of the things that happened was I encountered a book that has a collection of a lot of portraits, and I loved the portraits, like beautiful paintings of so many people. And I was like, oh, I would like to do this too. So it reinforced my love for this thing, and I felt like, oh yeah, this is what I would do. And I decided pretty fast about it, and I got myself into art school, and yeah, today I am painting and I'm enjoying doing it because it gives me joy. That's the key thing. I wasn't too sure I was going to be painting today immediately, because when I left school, I did not start like right away. I didn't start painting. I didn't start creating artworks right away. But I was studying art. I was creating some kind of stuff, like I paint. I have paintings I did within that period. Like all the time you find yourself painting, or people knew will say, help me do this. I want to do a portrait. I did all of that, but I was not very sure this is the thing I want to do. I wasn't sure because from the system of the schools to what I was seeing in the industry, I was a bit scared if there was a need to practice, because I wanted to do something different from what many people are doing, and I saw so many people doing relatively the same thing, and probably this is what the galleries want, this is what the people want to see, but this is not what I want to do. And since what I want to do is not what everybody's doing, I was a bit reluctant. Like I wasn't painting as such, because then it wasn't going to be what I'm creating now. But I knew I didn't want to do what the majority were doing. So it was a bit difficult to decide if I was going to just be creating the works. I want to tell my story like the cavemen did. They were telling their stories on the walls of the caves like the Egyptian did. So I felt like I wanted to do my thing, and I really wanted people to see my thing. So I needed to be sure. I dream about some of the concepts I paint. So I really wanted to give myself, if you see my work, it should be telling you something about me. So all of that were the reasons why I was going through a lot of challenges of should I paint, should I not paint? But eventually I saw one young Nigerian man. He's not really young per se, he's older than me. And he was doing something different from what everybody was doing. I was like, this is Nigerian, I love this work. I felt the work was real to him. His name is Bob Nusa. So I was like, I want to be like this person. I sent him a message on Facebook, like, I love your work, like, they're fantastic. This is unique, this is different. I felt this guy was sincere to himself. And eventually we met. I told him I loved what he was doing. And when I saw what he was doing and he spoke with me, I thought he read the same book. He said he didn't read any book, but he has had the conviction in him right from time. So after speaking to him, we became friends. We started talking. I had this encouragement, like the motivation to, yes, you go do your own thing. Don't care about the crowd. Close your ear from them, do your thing, and they will come. And well, we thank God today, we're painting and people are enjoying the works today. One thing was you need to get materials and you need to have funds to get your materials. So it was whatever I was doing that was giving me money. Like not whatever, I used to do graphic designs for people, I do printing, I was working with some event people. So all of that, when I get the money, I buy materials. I also had a couple of colors, like a lot I bought then because I had a project, like a mural project. So we bought close to 15, if not to 20 cups of these colors. So I had plenty of colors. So it helped me to experiment, and I have a lot of works that I did then that eventually they were unable to get to the gallery level, but I had a lot of materials, or I invested into the materials to experiment. So, and nobody needed to tell me paint it like this, paint it like that, but there are a lot of things about the business I discovered without any formal class. I listen to people a lot, very much. I listen to people, and mostly older colleagues. I read, I'm a lover of YouTube. So I pick from this person, I pick from that person. But the key thing I think most of us never knew in school was that we did not know how to create a brand, because art is basically creating a brand. You can't tell me this today, you tell me that tomorrow. Even if you're telling me this today and telling me that tomorrow, is there a connection between yesterday and today? Are you talking about your time, or you're talking about a time that doesn't concern you? Or even if you're talking about yesterday or maybe 200 years back, are you relating to the people of this time the way they will understand it, or you are relating 200 years ago the way it was represented 200 years ago? In school, you paint it like that. You do a painting of Nefertiti, for instance, you will be depicting it like it's here in the Egyptian era. But I think contemporary art is not that way. It should be something this generation should be able to connect with. If you are remixing, that's what you do in music, you have to sing it like this time. You don't have to sing it like the way it was. You could pick elements from those generations. Like my work has elements from so many artists who have even painted over 100 years ago, but I will represent it, talking about it in this time and in a very different way. Funding and getting your branding right are the key things. Like, I know I learned from the whole process of trying to grow up. So I'm a bit different in my practice, very different, and that's maybe the challenge I have. One, I don't carry my works to galleries as such. Like, I have been in a gallery where artists came with so many of his works, and the gallery will be saying, this one, I don't do that. Because most of the galleries, I don't feel they will represent it the way I want to. So I think one of the things that I would have said is the major challenge my work has is that many people have not seen them, and I want many eyes to see them, but I want them to be displayed in the right manner and in the right places where the right people or the many people will see them. So getting enough galleries, like the kind of galleries I want to exhibit with, is practically a challenge, because between last year to this year, I exhibited with only one gallery, that's Art 21 in a hotel run by Kalin Shagori. So yeah, it was a superb exhibition. It was a perfect place. I was like, man, because I exhibited in 2019 with some group of people, I wasn't really satisfied with the way my work was. My uncle wanted to see a video of it. I did a video though, but I couldn't send it to him because I felt this is not how I want people to see my work. So I now withdrew, and I like, if I don't get the right representation, I'm not putting out my work anywhere. So the major challenge is getting the right galleries to represent your work. And another thing is, before I discovered that gallery, I went to one or two galleries, but I didn't carry my physical work. I went with photographs in a portfolio. But the reaction I got from those galleries were, they weren't confident to show my work because they weren't sure of the audience that were coming to their gallery, if they were going to be ready to see something different or something new. They wanted things that looks like the things everybody is doing. I didn't want to do this kind of thing. So that was why I started withdrawing. Like, I want to see people interested in what I'm doing, then we can continue. But me chasing them, yeah, I have to, even if I will have to chase people, then it has to be the right people. So, well, we really don't have a lot of galleries who want to try the great things. Yeah, and many times in history, people keep missing the beautiful works, the works that end up making history. Most of the time, they don't end up joining. Like, people don't tend to benefit well enough because they were scared to start with these people. After I exhibited with at 21, I have had 3 other galleries that have approached me. One out of Lagos, one out of Nigeria, then another one in Lagos. So yeah, some of them were waiting to see, like, yeah, people like his work is now showing in that place. But not everybody wants to start you when you want to build the brand. So it's just those who really believe in, yeah, this guy has something unique and this is what we need. If you look at the continuum of artistry or the canon of painting, or I don't know the term to use, yeah, you know, it's not 100% different from what has existed. I did not invent colors, I didn't invent canvas, but minimalism is not new. There is a popular name, like some people when they see my work, they mention Piet Mondrian. You could say Frank Stella, you could talk about Klee, you could even relate it to, like myself, I relate it to the Ndebele traditional motifs in South Africa. So I can't say it is exclusively new or different from what has existed. It falls into a continuum of history that has existed before it. But then, it is talking about Danfo now. And talking about Danfo, you could Google Danfo if you don't mind. You could check the hashtag on Instagram after now, and you hardly find something like this painting you have here. You hardly find something like that painting. I do that, I check Danfo a lot because it's one of the hashtags that I follow. And people don't represent the Danfo story the way I am representing them currently. It's very different. This is me speaking, but I've heard it from people within Nigeria and even outside Nigeria, like, this is a very different way, or this is a new perspective to what we have been seeing. I pretty know it is. But I'm not saying minimalism, like they call it in the academic setting, is a new thing. People have been painting with flat colors, minimal colors, less details, go straight to the point, clean lines. All of that has existed for many years before me, and it will continue even after me. But in each of us who do this kind of painting, we have always tried to create something unique about us. That's the more reason why you said you saw so many yellows on my works. Yeah, because it's more like the me, the real me as a Lagosian. Of course, I'm referring to the yellow Danfo bus you saw on your way coming here, and everybody is seen all around. It is that Danfo. The first thing about most people who depict Danfo, they pick out the two black lines on the yellow bus. That one is very common, and it will continue. Then the second thing is, tell people to paint Danfo, they will paint a bus for you. If you look at my gallery on my phone, you see those two lines on the bodies of those Danfo buses. I have a variation of many other designs I have discovered from those buses. It's not just about two lines sometimes. There are varieties of them I have discovered, and I pick concepts from those guys and I interpret it in a very different way. You know, when they tell us to write a composition in secondary school, then they will give everybody a topic, but by the time we all write our compositions, they come out in different way because our thought processes are different. So I get this information, when it goes into me, my brain processes it differently. So in the course of processing those information, I tend to create these kind of works you are seeing today. So that's why it's like different, but it's still the same Lagos story I'm telling. Talking about the process of my work, most of the time it starts from observing and listening to the streets. I listen to people a lot, I observe what's happening a lot, and I pick ideas from there. Before I created these works, okay, let me just explain from the titles of some of the works here now. The first work up there is Okada Man. Everybody in Lagos can relate to Okada Man when you say Okada Man. So it's from the streets, but why can't we paint a beautiful Okada Man that can hang both here and in Los Angeles? It can hang in Helsinki, it can be hung in Pompeii or wherever. The people like, what's this work about? And we say, no, this is Okada Man. In this generation where we have Okada today, I am talking about this time, I'm documenting this time, but I'm representing it in a way that even people outside here would want to know more details about this. If you are new in Lagos and you first encounter my work and I tell you this is Johnny Just Come, and you're like, what is Johnny Just Come? You can Google it, then you'll understand, oh, something like this can happen. Then you will know how to relate to the people, because you could be a victim to people who take advantage of newcomers. So like this other one now, I titled it Owoda. Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry though, but not really sorry as such. The reason why the black line shouldn't even be on the yellow is because it shouldn't just be straight to the point sometimes. It should be like, why did you put the 2 black lines on the white place? Yeah, because I believe we can purify the concept of, or we can redefine the concept of collecting tax or collecting money from people in Lagos. You see the way I go like, hey, you know, all those kind of stuff. And I feel there can be a better way, even if I have some idea how it can happen. But I want to make people discuss this topic, or it should be part of discussions. So I'm trying to say it can be pretty organized the way my work looks. And I really want people to inquire or to feel interested in the story. So it's more of the story for me. I create a visual representation, and my visual representation oftentimes starts from paper to the system. Sometimes it doesn't get to the system, but sometimes it gets to the system. So I create a graphic representation, I look at it. After looking at it, sometimes I edit. Sometimes the editing takes place while I'm working on it, on the canvas. So, but it takes quite a number of while. Most times it takes weeks, sometimes even more than a month before I execute the work, because I'll really contemplate real good. Sometimes it might be complex, I'll be reducing it to the most simplest way it can come out. So all of that happens before I get my canvas. I get to get colors on the canvas. Then I work with some of the materials you find here. Like I measure a lot so the lines can be straight, so it can be very perfect. Yeah, I measure like all the time. Sometimes I use pencil, ruler, I mark it just to be sure I get it right. You see, I have masking tape right here. Sorry, I scattered the stuff. Yeah, so I use it to mark the lines so the colors will look neat. So I do that. Then I work with acrylic color because it dries very fast. It looks very neat. It looks very brilliant. And I think that's it for now. I apply my colors with brushes. Like you can see, I have my brushes here. So I work with brushes. Don't mind the yellow brushes. I love them because they pretty look like the yellow I paint. So yeah, so that's me and how I work. Well, since I started painting and professionally practicing, I've been very fortunate. Yeah, let me put it this way. I initially said I tried starting with some lower galleries. I didn't succeed, but I am fortunate to exhibit or to be exhibiting with one of the best galleries, if not the best gallery in Lagos. That's at 21 Lagos. So many people dream they want to have their works hung on that wall, but not everybody gets in. Not everybody. Really, before you get the opportunity to have your work in such high class gallery. So me exhibiting or to have exhibited with such a gallery, it's a big one for me, because even people who I feel that this guy has gone high in the industry, are really like, I really wish I can exhibit in that gallery. But it's not easy to get in there. So yeah, that's pretty one. Then last year, Artex Lagos, I don't know if you know about Artex Lagos, is the biggest art fair in West Africa. I was one of their finalists during the Artex review. I knew I was the last person that was interviewed. I applied like almost at the end of the whole thing, but within 48 hours, I got a mail from them to send my portfolio, and I got the opportunity to be part of the participants in the review and one of the finalists. I think we were 12 in number, and I think the 3 people that ended with me, the last review, like I'm from Nigeria, one was from Panama, the other one from UK. So it's a big one. I know they had over 500 applicants, like they said, but not everybody got to that height. Not everybody has gotten the opportunity to have their works posted on ArtX page. Like, it's a big big one for me, and it is really cool that I have been fortunate to get people from the high class being interested in my work more than those down. Yeah, so it's a good achievement. The value of a work of art is not quantified by monetary value we place on them. A lot of times it's not by that, and the value oftentimes, mostly in the secondary market, is not even determined by the artist himself. Yes, I kind of have some prices I tag my work with when I want to sell them. Like I say this one is 250,000 naira. Yeah, it's not because of the work is this size or is that size. I value it by what I perceive the creativity I've put into it worth. So that's how I do it for myself. Then a lot of time in the market, in the primary market, like in the galleries, the size of the work contributes to what the work should cost or what it's going to cost. The name of the artist, like how well or how good is that brand being bought. I see my work breaking records in the art market. Like I can't tell, I wouldn't know how much it's going to go for, but I feel what I am doing would make those headlines in the future, and I really want it to influence the way people think, the way people behave, especially in Lagos. Like Lagos sometimes gets so chaotic, and I pick inspiration from this chaos and refine it to a very clean canvas painting. And I really want to see this clean canvas painting influencing the people who inspired me again. So I envisage it's going to bring discussion that will make Lagosians look at if these are lifestyles or these old kiosks could make somebody say, I want people to move in straight lines, to move clean, to have a clean environment, to have a more structured way of going about doing things. I really see that happening, because if I have more of this going out and more people getting involved in the discussion, it's really going to influence the characters of people, and it might give us a better Lagos in the future. So I see it influencing lives, influencing thinking, influencing the basic things you find yourself around. Like even the car you drive, maybe someday you'll be picking somewhere from my work to paint your car, and it's going to look pretty unique from all the rest cars on the road. So that's really what I see my work doing in the future. I believe I will be involved in very important exhibitions, hopefully in the next 5 years' time to come, around the world. I want to believe before the next 5 years to come, I would have been able to create more interesting pieces than the ones I have today. Any other thing that comes out of creating those beautiful pieces that is going to make the world a better place is left to the people who are receiving the work. So whatever they do, if they receive it well and if they appreciate it well, it may go beyond what I am expecting. But for now, I can say, yeah, being part of important exhibitions, creating more interesting pieces and all of that is what I can do, which are the things I can control within my own power.
On the news, National Assembly passes 54.99 trillion naira 2025 budget. Custom intercepts cache of smuggled arms and ammunition in Lagos. And CBN to sanction banks imposing ATM withdrawal limits below 20,000 naira. Many thanks for joining us on the news on TV360 Nigeria. I'm Tamilore Akinkwolye. The National Assembly has passed the 54.99 trillion naira 2025 appropriation bill following separate approvals by the Senate and the House of Representatives on Thursday. A breakdown of the budget reveals 3.645 trillion naira allocated for statutory transfers, 14.317 trillion naira for debt servicing, 13.64 trillion naira for recurrent expenditure, and 23.963 trillion naira for capital expenditure under the Development Fund. The fiscal deficit was pegged at 13.08 trillion naira with a deficit to GDP ratio of 1.52%. Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had earlier increased the budget proposal from 49.7 trillion naira to 54.2 trillion naira, seeking legislative approval.
A bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation, the total sum of 54 trillion 990 billion 165 million 355,366 naira only, of which 3 trillion 645 billion 761 million 358,925 naira only is for statutory transfers. The sum of 23 trillion 963 billion 251 million 624,250 naira only is for contribution to Development Fund for capital expenditure for the year ending on the 31st day of December. This bill is read a third time and passed. And I hope that this appropriation bill will contribute to moving Nigeria forward and will assist Mr. President in his renewed hope agenda to renew the hope of Nigerians in all facets of life, from infrastructure to security and to provision of even respect for this country from the international community, most especially to leave a better nation for the future generations of this country.
The Defense Headquarters has launched Operation Safe Corridor in the Northwest, but its headquarters in Task Force and for the state. The initiative is designed to combat insecurity by providing a structured pathway for repentant terrorists and bandits who voluntarily surrender their arms to be rehabilitated and reintegrated into society. The program, previously successful in rehabilitating Boko Haram defectors in the Northeast, has now been expanded to address security challenges in Zamfara, Kebbi, Katsina, Sokoto, and Kaduna states. The program is built on 5 pillars: disarmament, demobilization, deradicalization, rehabilitation, and reintegration. Operation Safe Corridor is expected to play a key role in restoring peace and stability across the Northwest. Now, joining me to discuss this better is retired Commandant of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, Nnamdi Okonkwo. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Okonkwo. Now, what is your take on the establishment of Operation Safe Corridor to help rehabilitate ex-bandits?
To be honest with you, this establishment of this Operation Safe Haven, I think is a beautiful idea because it will assist in curbing what you call banditry and maybe terrorism. These people will have the opportunity to be rehabilitated and maybe schooled as to be able to reunite with the society. So this is my take, even though I know that establishing this has a lot of pros and cons. But this news item here will not allow for the provision of all the materials required in terms of the pros and then in terms of the cons for the benefit of the society and for the betterment of the security of the country.
Now, despite the program's implementation in the Northeast, the region still faces significant terrorism challenges. Now, what measures can be taken to ensure that the Northwest does not also experience similar setbacks?
It is my advice that the government should immediately deploy its counter-terrorism policies and work with it, and so that they will be able to meet up with the needs of the people in terms of the provision of safety and freedom from all anxieties of danger. If the government adopts that, putting the community affairs in place, the environment, the safety, and the security of the people, this will be the most tidy idea that the government can follow so that it does not spread anymore.
Now, finally, before I let you go, many communities have expressed skepticism about reintegrating former insurgents. Now, what steps can be taken to foster trust and to also ensure the safety of these communities?
You see, the thing, it depends on how the management of that safe haven, if they are able to draw up a management plan, they would be able to, just in case the people who are coming, because one does not know the intent of their minds. You see, most times the intent of the mind is much the same as the state of a digestion. The actus real is only what we can determine, but their minds cannot be so determined. So what they will do is take all the necessary precautions to make sure that these people are well trained in terms of new skills, how to be able to acquire skills and then deploy the skills they've acquired in the proper perspective. This is my take, and this is how I think the government can do it, and they have to do it with all seriousness, with the speed it requires, and the surprise it requires, and the secrecy it requires. So all of these must be put in place in order to be able to put that together so that the government will thrive in what they are trying to do or achieve for a better society in Nigeria.
Right, former Commandant of Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Nnamdi Okonkwo, thank you very much for your time. Still on security matters, the Defense Headquarters has reported significant operational successes in the South-South region between January 3rd and February 13th, 2025. Troops fought oil theft worth an estimate of 646 million naira during this period, marking a major win against economic sabotage. Speaking at a bi-weekly media briefing, Director of Defense Media Operation Major General Marcos Kangige revealed the 75 terrorists were also neutralized, 138 suspects were arrested, and 46 kidnapped hostages were successfully rescued. Major General Kangeye attributed this achievement to the coordinated effort of the Armed Forces Land Component, the Office of the National Security Advisor Team, security agencies, and hybrid forces.
Troops discovered and destroyed about 164 crude oil cooking ovens, 37 dugout pits, 19 boats, 16 storage tanks, 38 drums, and 42 illegal refining sites. Other items recovered include 3 pumping machines, 4 tricycles, 7 motorcycles, 5 mobile phones, and 3 vehicles, among others. In a related development, troops recovered 104 and 2,639 assorted weapons and ammunition, respectively. These include 55 AK-47 rifles, 20 locally fabricated guns, 8 den guns, 18 pump action guns, 1,836 rounds of 7.62 millimeter special ammunition, 376 rounds of 7.62 millimeter NATO, 363 rounds of 7.62 by 12.7 millimeter ammunition, 26 cartridges, as well as 14 and 15 assorted arms and ammunition respectively.